Hey everyone. After leveling to almost level 400 on my main account, I decided to make a new character. I want to experience it all over again, but I also wanted to make something that people could benefit from. So my next long-term project is going to be a new player guide series. And to explain the series part of that, today I want to go over a lot of the basics of the game and things you want to know in the early stages of the game. And after that, I'll be working towards going over things that need more explaining in depth in future videos. So subscribe if you want to be notified of when those are done, and let's get right into it. First thing, we're going to look at your attributes, which I feel like I'm terrible at saying that word. They're located above your minimap. From left to right, they are your health, stamina, and Deadeye. They do exactly what you think they would do, while Deadeye being used more for an active ability, which will be discussed later, and I'll put a timestamp if you want to jump to that. The symbol inside of your circular bar is known as your core. Once your bar is consumed, you'll start to spin your core. Your core also affects the speed in which you regenerate the magic attribute. Both your bar and your core can be fortified, giving you extra resources in whichever bar you're trying to fill. Food can be used to refill or fortify your cores, while tonics are used for your bars. You should look at tonics as health potions. They can be crafted, purchased, or looted. Let's move on to leveling up these attributes. So when you make your character, you start at 5 base points. You're given 2 free points to use however you want. I suggest you put points in either Deadeye or health. I went with health instead of Deadeye just because if you run out of health, you die, obviously. That being said, of the two, Deadeye is actually harder to raise. So don't worry about whatever you pick because you can max all 3 out. So now you're done with character creation and you want to max them out. Health can be maxed out by melee combat using a bow or throwing weapons, fishing, or rowing a boat. I maxed mine out by using the first 3 options. Stamina is simple, just run. Deadeye can be maxed out by skinning animals and landing headshots on enemies. So the last thing I want to bring up on the topic of your health and stamina is your weight. You can be underweight, average, or overweight. This changes the amount of damage you take and how your stamina drains. Max underweight, you take 7.5% more damage and drain 7.5% less stamina. Max overweight has the inverse effect. Everything in between is on a spectrum between both extremes. I tend to try to stay on the overweight side as much as possible since it's very noticeable in PvP. Let's move on to the currency. There's 2 main types of currency and one that's newer and less important. We'll talk about the main 2 for now, cash and gold. Cash being the one you use the most, gold being the one you use starting out on bigger investments, like your rolls. Gold can also be used instead of cash at a rate of 1 gold bar for $25, which in majority of cases, in my opinion, is not a good idea, at least starting out. Cash is more common than gold. You get cash from doing pretty much everything in the game. But to make gold, you need to be doing award resets, treasure maps, the new blood money missions, daily challenges, and bounty hunting, with the last one being a roll that we'll talk about later. But the first thing as a new player you should do is the story mode, if people are queuing up for it. The early stage money making is a topic I want to go more in depth on another video. And as a new player, I strongly suggest you use your gold for future rolls. Onto the weapons. For weapons, there are 2 main types, which are broken up further into 6 smaller categories. The main 2 are your sidearms and your long arms. Keep in mind you can only have 2 sidearms and 2 long arms are your character at a time. Everything else will be on your horse. Sidearms being your revolvers, your pistols, and your sawed-off shotguns. Your long arms being your repeaters, rifles, shotguns, and bows. Quickly, I want to go over the range you use each of these weapons in. Revolvers and pistols are usually used in short to mid-range. They fit in between the ranges of repeaters and shotguns. Shotguns being the traditional close-range option. Most of these are long arms, while the sawed-offs are sidearms. Repeaters are the long to mid-range option. Same with rifles, but I like to break the rifles into 2 different parts. The bolt action and Springfield rifle are more like heavy-duty repeaters, which is really an overly simple description, while the Carcano and the rolling block are more traditional sniper rifles. The bow is another mid to long range option, but that depends if you can land the shots. You will start out with 2 weapons, and that'll be the Cattleman revolver and the carbine repeater. So moving forward, you're going to replace these weapons. I think you should pick up weapons that can be used in multiple scenarios and won't be quickly replaced. Since you have an empty long arm slot, I suggest you fill that first. Also, you can't dual wield sidearms until level 20. So you got 4 main options depending on what you want to do and how you want to play. These aren't in any order, but pick one. For me, will be the pump shotgun. It's not great for hunting, but it's outstanding in everything else. To me, there's no better shotgun. There's no debate. You could pick this up and never buy another shotgun and be in a great spot. Pick 2 for me will be the rolling block. It has more value on mouse and keyboard, but it's good for hunting and solid in PvP. You wouldn't replace this until level 50. Pick 3 and 4 would be the Lancaster repeater and the bolt action rifle. They pretty much do the same thing, with the Lancaster being more of a PvP weapon, but it could still work in PvE, and the bolt action being great for hunting, but you can also defend yourself from a distance. The Lancaster is another one of those weapons where if you buy that repeater, you could easily stick with it and not have to buy any other repeaters. And I'm pretty sure it's the top contender for one of the best weapons on console. Honorable mention for the bow being great to level your health and being a decent long-range option. The Cattleman is the last thing I'd replace because you're usually better off dual-wielding the same sidearm. So you would be buying 2 weapons at the same time. But your main picks for sidearms are the Navy revolvers and the Mausers, for PvP, and in PvE, any sidearm will work. Quick disclaimer, you can pretty much make any weapon work. These are just my picks to be the most efficient ways to spend your money. I'll probably make a top 10 weapon video soon. I don't know, we'll see. But let's take some time to look at ability cards. Ability cards can be divided into active and passive choices to make your character better. The abilities that your active cards grant you are called your Deadeye cards, which consume the aforementioned Deadeye resource. You can only use one Deadeye card at a time, while you can use up to 3 passive ability cards. Like with the weapons, I got you some early game picks that'll help you out when you start the game and you'll use later, with emphasis being on making money, not using consumables, and the ones you won't be replacing anytime soon. When you make your character, you will only have 3 options for your first Deadeye card: Focus Fire, A Moment to Recuperate, and Painted Black. Out of these 3, my main 2 picks are Painted Black and A Moment to Recuperate, heavily leaning on Painted Black to be the pick, while being completely against picking Focus Fire as your first card. Painted Black being the card I picked up first. It'll give you the ability to paint targets and shoot them. It's simple but effective. Anything that you paint, you hit. There are things that negate that, but that's okay. It's the card that's most useful in every situation in the game. A Moment to Recuperate gives you healing while your Deadeye is active. The downside being if you take any damage, it will cancel the effect. It'll give you a way to consistently heal yourself, but the problem is later in the game, the card will be replaced. It's by no means a bad card, just replaceable later. Focus Fire is just too niche of a card. It increases damage dealt, but the damage increase doesn't change enough things in my opinion. Most NPCs are a 1 or 2 shot, and Focus Fire doesn't change that most of the time. It has a few uses in PvP, but those aren't even really common. And that's why I'm against this card as an early game purchase. So for passive cards, there's 5 impactful picks that you can use early. They are Strange Medicine, Eye for an Eye, Iron Lung, Sharpshooter, and Fool Me Once. Iron Lung being a damage reduction card that also helps you regen stamina faster, can be purchased at rank 10, which is when you get your first slot for a passive card. It's a staple card for PvE and PvP. Sharpshooter, more of a PvP card, but if you like to snipe, it'll hold weight in PvE by giving you damage reduction and damage increase while looking down your scope. Also, a rank 10 pick. Last of the rank 10 picks is Fool Me Once, another great PvE and PvP pick, giving you a damage reduction that stacks off consecutive hits. It becomes stronger later in PvP when tonics get involved, but it's still a good early game pick. These next 2 cards are really workhorses. Eye for an Eye unlocks at rank 28. It gives you bonus Deadeye when landing headshots. It gives you fantastic self-sustain when you don't want to use consumables. It's mostly a PvE card, but will last you a very long time. I still use it when farming money on both of my characters. Last but not least, Strange Medicine. It unlocks at level 32. It restores health based off the damage you do. Headshots giving you 20% health back. Everything I said about Eye for an Eye applies for this card, but just gives health instead. These 2 cards combined make the best PvE build. Really, you can combine any of these 5 passive cards to the Painted Black build, and you would be ready for anything in PvE. My favorite build for farming bounties would be Painted Black, Iron Lung, Strange Medicine, and Eye for an Eye, with the last 2 carrying the most weight. Those are my ability card picks, but you still gotta level the cards up. To go from level 1 to 2, you'll need $350, and to get 10,000 EXP while having the card equipped. From 2 to 3, it'll cost $500 and 15,000 EXP. You pay the money after you get the EXP though. The money will be a bigger bottleneck than the EXP. So I wouldn't worry about rushing for the EXP. Get the money, the EXP will come with it. So let's move on to another important topic, your roles. You've got your gold, and now it's time to spend it. There's 5 roles: Trader, Naturalist, Moonshiner, Bounty Hunter, and Collector. Trader costs 15 gold. It's pretty straightforward. If you like hunting, you kill animals, bring them to crypts at your camp. He turns it into goods, you do a delivery, and then you get some money. Bounty Hunter is 15 gold. If you want to shoot NPCs, like the Bounty Hunter Fantasy, it's solid. It's the only one that gives you gold, but not as much cash as the other ones. Collector is the last of the 15 gold ones. The next 2 are 25 gold. While providing a great source of money, Collector is boring to some people, myself included. You go around the map looking for collectibles, you sell them to Madame Nazar, you get more money for having every piece of a set. There's also a website that has a map that makes this a lot easier. I'll leave a link for that below. Naturalist is like a weird mix between collector and trading. You sedate animals, you can get sets of these samples to sell to Harriet, who's best girl by the way. So you're hunting, you're just not killing them after you find them. Moonshiner is the most passive of all of them. You make moonshine, you do deliveries, but you can also buy every part of the recipe and just do deliveries every 48 minutes. The amount of money you make is based off the recipe and how few bottles you break, which is also a turn-off for some people. I wouldn't pick either of the 25 gold ones first, because after you get the first one, everything becomes a lot easier. Trader's a good choice if you like hunting, like I said. You can also include other people in your deliveries and spread the wealth, providing more money to Bounty Hunter. and less than collector. Bounty hunter being the only role to give gold the lowest amount of cash. Gold is a big deal, but it's less impactful now that the Blood Money update has dropped, giving new players a new source of gold. Collector is the highest paying role in the game, so if it's not boring to you, knock yourself out. Use the collector map, pull up some YouTube. It's an easy role for a lot of purchases. Any of these three are first good picks. I picked Bounty Hunter first. It's giving me gold for the other roles, and it's the one I enjoy the most. I'll be doing guides for all of these in the future, so stay tuned for that. There's a couple more things I want to talk about before I end this first part of the series. And the first one is if you aren't interested in PvP, use defensive mode. It'll make you harder to kill and prevent people from painting you or locking onto you. Go into your menu, go to online options, and you'll see playstyle offensive. Change that to defensive. Another thing I want you to do is start looking at the weekly bonuses and take advantage of these. This week Trader was only 10 gold for me and the wagons are on sale. You could consider waiting till Tuesday when the bonuses sometimes change and make your decision based off of that. And like always, if you made it this far, thank you. Give me your thoughts in the comments section. Leave me a like if you enjoyed the video. It helps with the algorithm and whatnot. Subscribe if you haven't already. Follow me on Twitch. Join the Discord. Links for both will be in the description. I hope to see you guys soon, but until then, I'll catch you guys later. Peace.